Hey there, welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, uh, we're getting our hands dirty, well, not literally, with a look at Amish beekeeping.
Oh,
Um, you shared a fascinating YouTube video with us, and I have to say, this approach to beekeeping is so different from what I'm used to seeing.
right.
No fancy gadgets, just a deep respect for the bees and a reliance on natural methods.
It's a refreshing perspective, isn't it? What's striking is the Amish emphasis on working in harmony with nature rather than trying to control it.
Yeah.
You can see this reflected in every aspect of their beekeeping, from how they build their hives to how they harvest honey.
Okay, so let's unpack that, starting with the hives.
Sure.
The video shows them building these hives from scratch, using wood from their own land.
Wow.
It's quite a contrast to the mass-produced hives you typically see.
Exactly. This do-it-yourself approach speaks volumes about their self-sufficiency and commitment to sustainability.
Mm.
By using natural materials, they're not only reducing their environmental impact, but also creating a habitat that's truly in tune with the bees' needs. And did you notice how quickly the bees take to these hives?
Yeah.
They seem to instinctively understand that this is a safe and natural home.
It's incredible. And speaking of natural home, they're very strategic about where they place these hives, often near fields and gardens bursting with nectar sources.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
They're essentially giving the bees a buffet right on their doorstep.
Right.
By understanding the local ecosystem and the bees' foraging patterns, they're setting them up for success.
You know, this really makes me think about my own little garden.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I need to pay closer attention to what I'm planting to attract more pollinators.
That's a good idea.
Okay, so they've built these amazing hives, placed them strategically.
Right.
What about when it comes to checking on the bees?
Yeah.
Those hives must need inspecting every now and then.
You'd think so, right? But their approach to hive inspection is surprisingly hands-off.
Okay.
While many modern beekeepers suit up in full protective gear, the Amish beekeepers in the video seem to rely on a much gentler touch.
If you're just joining us, be sure to like and subscribe to the Deep Dive so you don't miss out on more fascinating explorations like this one.
Yes, please do.
Now back to hive inspection.
Okay.
I noticed they use smoke, but even that seemed very minimal.
Yes. They use smoke from natural materials like dried grass, just a little puff to calm the bees before opening the hive.
Oh, interesting.
It's all about minimizing disruption to the colony.
Mm.
They seem to have an intuitive understanding of bee behavior, knowing when it's safe to approach and when it's best to leave them undisturbed.
It's amazing how they can read those subtle cues. I mean, I wouldn't know a happy buzz from an annoyed one. Do you think that's something you can learn, or is it more of an instinct they develop from being around bees their whole lives?
It's probably a combination of both.
Yeah.
There are certainly signs and signals you can learn to recognize, but the Amish also have a long tradition of beekeeping passed down through generations.
Right.
So it's this deep-rooted knowledge combined with careful observation that allows them to work so harmoniously with the bees.
That's a reminder that sometimes the best approach is one that combines traditional wisdom with attentive observation.
I agree.
And that probably applies to more than just beekeeping, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Whether we're gardening, cooking, or simply trying to understand the world around us, slowing down, observing, and respecting natural processes can lead to incredible insights.
I love that.
Mm.
Now, speaking of natural processes, the honey, let's dive into the Amish approach to harvesting this liquid gold, because I have a feeling it's just as fascinating as the rest of their methods.
Oh, you're absolutely right. It's all about patience and letting nature take its course.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to The Deep Dive for more fascinating explorations of the world around us. Now back to the Amish and their honey harvesting techniques.
Okay.
So no fancy centrifuges here.
Nope. They use a gravity-based system that's as simple as it is effective.
Oh, wow.
Imagine this. They carefully cut out the honey-filled combs and let the honey slowly drip through a sieve into a container below.
Interesting.
It's like time itself is sweetening the process.
It's like they've mastered the art of slow living, even when it comes to something as seemingly simple as honey extraction.
Right.
You know, it makes me wonder if this slow, deliberate process contributes to the unique qualities of raw honey.
That's a great observation. You see, by avoiding heat and excessive processing, the Amish are preserving the natural enzymes, antioxidants, and delicate flavors that make raw honey so special.
Right.
It's a world away from the mass-produced, often pasteurized honey you find in supermarkets.
It's like comparing a freshly picked, sun-ripened strawberry to a jar of strawberry jam.
Exactly.
And speaking of appreciating the natural goodness of honey,
Yes.
I noticed in the video that the Amish don't seem to take all the honey from the hive. They actually leave a good portion for the bees.
Exactly. Unlike some commercial beekeeping operations that prioritize maximum honey extraction, the Amish understand that the bees need a significant portion of their honey to thrive, especially during the winter months.
Yeah.
They see themselves as stewards of the bees, not just honey producers.
It's a beautiful example of living in balance with nature, taking only what you need and ensuring the well-being of the ecosystem.
I agree.
It's a lesson we could all learn from, don't you think?
I completely agree. And this respect for the bees extends to how they approach pest and disease management. You won't find any harsh chemicals in their beekeeping toolkit.
Now that you mention it, I remember seeing them using some interesting natural remedies in the video. What was that all about?
They rely on things like herbs, essential oils, and even specific types of smoke to keep their hives healthy.
Okay.
For instance, they might use thyme or tea tree oil to deter pests or lavender to soothe an agitated hive. It's fascinating how they've tapped into the power of nature's pharmacy.
It's funny because we often think of modern science as the solution to all our problems.
Mm,
But here we have the Amish using traditional knowledge and natural remedies that have been passed down for generations.
right.
And it's working.
It certainly is. And you know what's even more interesting? Recent scientific research is actually validating many of these traditional practices.
Oh, wow.
Scientists are finding that some of the chemicals used in conventional beekeeping can have detrimental effects on bee health, weakening their immune systems and making them more susceptible to diseases.
So the Amish, with their reliance on natural methods, might actually be ahead of the curve when it comes to sustainable beekeeping. That's incredible.
It just goes to show that sometimes the old ways are the best ways, especially when it comes to working with nature.
Hmm.
And it's not just about the bees themselves, it's also about the purity of the honey.
Right.
By avoiding chemical interventions, they're ensuring that their honey is free from any unwanted residues.
Which means you're getting all this natural goodness of honey in its purest form. It's a win-win situation.
Speaking of win-win, the Amish don't just keep all this amazing honey to themselves.
All right.
They're known for their strong sense of community and sharing, and that extends to their beekeeping as well.
Oh, yeah, I remember that from the video.
Yeah.
They were using honey to barter for other goods,
Mhm.
sharing it with neighbors, and even giving it away as gifts.
Exactly. For the Amish, honey isn't just a commodity. It's a symbol of community connection and reciprocity.
Hmm.
It's something to be shared and enjoyed together. And, there's even a scientific basis for this idea of sharing local honey.
Oh, really? I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, some studies suggest that consuming local raw honey can help build immunity to local allergens.
Interesting.
The idea is that the honey contains small amounts of pollen from local plants. And by ingesting it, you're essentially exposing your body to these allergens in a controlled way, which can help reduce allergic reactions over time.
If you're just joining us, be sure to like and subscribe to the deep dive so you don't miss out on more fascinating explorations like this one. So by sharing their honey within the community, the Amish are not only strengthening social bonds, but potentially contributing to better health as well. That's amazing.
It's a beautiful example of how traditional practices can have ripple effects benefiting both individuals and the community as a whole.
We've talked about the Amish building their hives, tending to their bees, and harvesting their honey.
Right.
But what about winter? Those hives must need some special care to survive the cold months.
You're right. Winter poses a unique challenge for bees, and the Amish have developed some clever strategies to help their colonies weather the storm.
I remember seeing them wrapping their hives in thick blankets and even placing bales of hay around them. It's like they're tucking their bees in for a long winter's nap.
Exactly. They use natural insulation materials like wool blankets or hay to help trap heat and protect the hives from the elements.
Okay.
They understand that bees are remarkably resilient creatures, but they also need a little help to stay warm and cozy when temperatures plummet.
And what about the bees themselves? How do they survive those freezing temperatures?
Well, bees have an incredible survival strategy called clustering.
Oh,
When temperatures drop, they huddle together in a tight ball with the queen bee at the center.
wow.
The bees on the outer layer vibrate their wing muscles, generating heat and keeping the cluster warm.
It's like a living furnace. Nature is full of such amazing examples of adaptation and resilience. And the Amish beekeepers, with their deep understanding of bee behavior, respect this natural process.
They don't try to interfere by introducing artificial heat sources or disrupting the cluster. They trust in the bees' innate ability to survive the winter. And of course, they make sure the bees have ample honey stores to fuel their winter huddle.
It's all about providing the right conditions and then stepping back to let nature work its magic. It's a philosophy that seems to permeate every aspect of Amish beekeeping. But, it's not just about practical skills and techniques. It's also about passing down knowledge and traditions to future generations.
Absolutely. Family and community are at the heart of Amish life, and beekeeping is no exception. From a young age, children are involved in every aspect of the process, learning from their parents, grandparents, and other experienced beekeepers.
I noticed that in the video too. There were kids of all ages helping out from carrying frames to observing the bees. It was heartwarming to see.
It's a beautiful example of intergenerational learning. The children aren't just taught the technical aspects of beekeeping, they're also instilled with a deep respect for bees and a sense of responsibility for their well-being.
It's not just about honey production. It's about carrying on a tradition,
Yeah.
a way of life that values sustainability, community, and connection to nature.
Precisely. And this hands-on approach fosters a deep understanding and appreciation that goes far beyond anything you could learn from a textbook.
It makes you wonder what other lessons we could learn from the Amish way of life. It's like they've tapped into something profound, a way of being in the world that's both sustainable and deeply fulfilling. As we've been talking, I've been struck by the connections between Amish beekeeping practices and broader themes of sustainability.
That's a great point. The Amish approach to beekeeping isn't just about producing honey, it's a microcosm of their overall philosophy of living in harmony with nature.
Right.
They avoid unnecessary waste, they prioritize self-sufficiency, and they make decisions with the long-term health of the ecosystem in mind.
It's like they're living a real-life example of what many of us are striving for, a way of life that's both environmentally responsible and deeply connected to community and tradition.
And they're doing it without sacrificing quality or productivity. In fact, their honey is renowned for its purity and rich flavor, a testament to the care and attention they put into every step of the process.
If you're just joining us, be sure to like and subscribe to the deep dive so you don't miss out on more fascinating explorations like this one.
Huh.
I think what fascinates me most about the Amish approach is that it's not about domination or control, it's about partnership.
Right.
They seem to understand that they're not in charge of the bees, but rather working alongside them, respecting their natural instincts and supporting their well-being.
That's such a powerful insight. It's a shift in perspective that could benefit us all, not just in how we relate to bees, but in how we interact with the natural world as a whole.
Right.
What if instead of trying to bend nature to our will, we focused on understanding its rhythms, working within its boundaries, and fostering a sense of reciprocity?
It's a beautiful vision, and the Amish beekeepers are showing us that it's not just a pipe dream, it's a lived reality.
Hmm.
And, I have to admit, I was a little skeptical at first. I thought, well, this is all well and good for a small self-sufficient community, but can these methods really scale to meet the needs of a larger population?
Mm.
But the more I learn, the more I realize that the principles behind Amish beekeeping are universally applicable.
Absolutely. It's not about replicating their exact methods, but rather embracing the core values, respect for nature, a focus on sustainability, and a commitment to working with rather than against natural processes.
Right.
These are principles that can be adapted and applied to any scale, from a backyard garden to a large-scale agricultural operation.
So what can we take away from all of this? What lessons can we as individuals and as a society learn from the Amish approach to beekeeping?
Well, I think one of the most important takeaways is that sustainability isn't just about grand gestures or sweeping policy changes. It's about making small, mindful choices in our everyday lives. It's about paying attention to where our food comes from, supporting local farmers and beekeepers, and reducing our reliance on chemical interventions.
It's about slowing down, observing, and learning from nature, just as the Amish beekeepers have done for generations. It's about recognizing that we're part of a larger ecosystem and that our actions have ripple effects. I think this deep dive into Amish beekeeping has been a real eye-opener for me. It's challenged my assumptions about what's possible and inspired me to think more deeply about my own relationship with nature.
And that's the beauty of these deep dives, isn't it? They allow us to explore different perspectives, challenge our preconceived notions, and expand our understanding of the world around us. They remind us that there's always more to learn and that even ancient traditions can offer valuable insights for modern living.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we leave you with this question to ponder. What aspects of the Amish approach could you, even on a small scale, incorporate into your own life? Whether it's choosing local raw honey planting, pollinator-friendly flowers in your garden, or simply taking a moment to appreciate the intricate beauty of a beehive, there are countless ways to connect with the wisdom of this ancient practice.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of Amish beekeeping. We hope you found it as fascinating and thought-provoking as we have.
And if you're looking for more deep dives into intriguing topics, be sure to subscribe to The Deep Dive, where we explore the world one fascinating subject at a time. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those questions buzzing.